For hundreds of years, toads have been a vital ingredient in the practice of witchcraft.
The reed of the slime and dust of the earth, rotten dust and rain, toad, frog, filthy, envenomable.
The toad's warty skin was thought to have magical powers. They could cast spells to cure or to kill.
Toad under cold stone, sweltered venom sleeping hot, boiled.
Today, we no longer imagine frogs and toads to have supernatural qualities, but the reality is even more incredible. For them, their thin, permeable skin is truly a magical coat. Frogs and toads are amphibians. Although toads are usually found on land and frogs in wet places, the opposite could also be true. What they both have in common, however, is their versatile skin. It may be damp and slimy, but this slime factor is one of the keys to their survival. It keeps their skin moist, and it's freed them from a life in water. From sticky pads on toes and fingers to elaborate eye protectors, there seems no limit to the uses of that adaptable skin. And almost no limit either to the places it has enabled them to conquer. Lake Titicaca, high in the Andes. Its dark waters are home to one of the most bizarre of frogs. The Titicaca frog wears a sorcerer's cloak of skin. Like many amphibians, it uses its permeable skin to breathe. But at nearly 11,000 feet above sea level, there's very little oxygen in the lake. So these weird flaps and folds increase the body's surface area and help it absorb more oxygen. This frog has another trick up its sleeve. To increase the flow of water past the pleats and frills, it does push-ups. Every few weeks, frogs renew their skin by shedding the outer layers. But the Titicaca frog doesn't let it go to waste. It eats it. Frogs' bodies are soft and vulnerable, and their small size makes them seem defenseless. So how do they avoid being eaten? They escape their predators by being super jumpers. And the ultimate jumpers are these frogs, called Jesus Christ frogs. They got their name because they walk on water. The water's surface tension acts like a trampoline, propelling these tiny frogs across the pond. But there are other ways to avoid a predator. To a foraging coati, this may look like a dead leaf. In fact, it's a horned toad, a master of camouflage. For frogs and toads of many kinds, the pattern of their skin helps them blend into the background. This way, they can afford to be large and slow, because they wear an invisible coat. Sometimes the skin casts a more subtle spell. A tarantula. It eats frogs. This frog seems to be courting disaster. It's actually living inside the tarantula's burrow. So why isn't this frog eaten? The answer lies once again in its skin. It secretes a substance so distasteful to the spider that the tarantula doesn't harm it. In fact, both benefit from their living arrangement. The frog keeps the spider's egg sac safe from marauding ants, and the frog in turn gains protection from its venomous host. Sometimes just tasting nasty isn't enough. This is the tomato frog from Madagascar. It shares the forest with frog-eating snakes, but this snake is in for a big surprise. The frog's first line of defense is to blow itself up, to look large and threatening. But that doesn't always work. The tomato frog plays another trick. Its skin oozes a sticky fluid. The liquid gums up the snake's jaws. This natural glue is as strong as many man-made adhesives and will take a day or two to wear off. Next time, the snake may take more notice of the frog's bright warning colors. Queensland, Australia. There's an intruder lurking in the flower bed. A cane toad. Toads are simply frogs with dry, warty skin. The cane toad's skin produces a poison potent enough to delight the most demanding witches. Cane toads are not native to Australia. They came originally from South America, and they're one of Australia's least loved immigrants. And this is one of the reasons why. Just a taste of their poison is enough to make a dog foam at the mouth. And that's only the start. Toad venom can cause vomiting, paralysis, even death. It's no wonder toads were used as a favorite ingredient in sorcerer's spells and potions. Not surprisingly, the toads are not popular with the average Queenslander. They're considered a threat to pets and even small children. So to a cane toad, Australia is not a welcoming place. In Brisbane, the people have organized a group called Toad Busters.
Okay, I'd like everyone to be aware of the native frogs out there. We don't want to be catching them by mistake, so just make sure that you are looking at what you are catching. And with the young kids here tonight, we want to make sure that you wash your hands after you catch the toads, so we don't want any of the poison on them. Okay, how about we go out there and catch a few toads, okay? Happy toading.
These people have taken it upon themselves to remove cane toads from public places. They have no qualms about eliminating a toad they believe to be a risk to native Australian wildlife. In the humid forests of South America, there are frogs even more lethal than the notorious cane toad. Poison arrow frogs. They advertise their venomous potential with a brilliant display of different colors. These deadly jewels flaunt themselves in broad daylight, yet few predators will dare touch them. Their gem-like qualities are echoed in the art of pre-Columbian cultures, in frog figurines of solid gold. Frogs were valued for more than their beauty. Excavations of religious sites in Central America have unearthed frog skeletons by the thousands. What part did they play in the life of these ancient cultures? Perhaps the modern-day Matsis Indians of Peru give us some ideas. For them, this tree frog is both revered and exploited for its magical properties. The Matsis collect the frog's secretion and dry it over a fire. Then they blend it with saliva, prick their skin, and rub the potion into the open wound. The mixture is potentially lethal, but it's also a powerful hallucinogen. The Matsis believe it helps them to hunt. It sharpens their senses, they say, and it makes them feel like gods. Modern scientists find the secretions of amphibian skins fascinating for other reasons. In this laboratory in Philadelphia, a whole new field of medicine is being born. It's all based on the slime from that versatile amphibian skin. It's a bona fide drugstore of chemical compounds with powers beyond even the wildest dreams of the Matsis or medieval witches. The secretions from this African clawed toad contain a previously unknown antibiotic. Already being tested on human patients, it may prove to be the most exciting medical discovery since penicillin. In the laboratory, it kills bacteria almost on contact. In the quest for new kinds of drugs, amphibian skin is at the cutting edge of medical research. It's yielded not only antibiotics, but also fungicides, antiviral agents, even compounds that may fight cancer. But why do frogs make these potent substances? Their moist, slimy skins would be perfect breeding grounds for bacteria and fungi. But with a strong built-in barrier against infection, frogs can live almost any place, even in a dump like this. Though their skin lets them live on land, there comes a time in a frog's life when it needs a pool of water, regardless of the hazards of getting there. Every spring in England, toads by the thousands risk a squashy death to reach a pond. But why do toads cross the road? To get to the water to breed. Traditional spawning pools fill with writhing balls of toads, each clustered round a single female. Males wrestle for the privilege of fertilizing her eggs. In the heat of Africa, frogs fight over water. It's scarce and precious. These temporary rainwater pools will soon dry up. Male bullfrogs battle for the space to breed. Because males have to fight, they're much bigger than the females. For her, this must be like coupling with a sumo wrestler. Every female lays a mass of eggs, as many as 6,000. Eggs become tadpoles. growing tails and tiny gills. Barely 48 hours from being laid, they hatch, but only a tiny proportion of these wriggling hordes will survive to grow into frogs. At this stage in life, tadpoles are vulnerable, an easy meal for birds, snakes, even other frogs. But for tadpoles too, their skin comes to the rescue. The skin of this common toad is loaded with noxious chemicals, so many predators will avoid eating its tadpoles. The best way around this problem is to pierce the skin rather than eat it. And that's exactly what this great diving beetle larva does. It has special pincers to puncture the skin and suck the tadpole dry. The skin also produces a substance that allows members of the same brood to recognize each other. So they all stick together. There's safety in numbers. We might not think of frogs as prime examples of parental devotion, but male bullfrogs are an exception. Fathers stay with their brood of tadpoles and protect them. By some way we don't yet understand, father and young can recognize one another. The ponds are starting to shrink. The tadpoles' skins aren't yet able to secrete the slime that prevents adult frogs from drying up. Stranded in the shallows, they seem doomed to death by desiccation. But Dad comes to the rescue. He digs a channel. Finally, he clears the way to deeper water, and his stranded young swim through to safety. This rescue is remarkable, but brings only temporary reprieve. The race is on to eat and grow before the water vanishes completely. The few tadpoles that do finish the race undergo a magical metamorphosis. In just a few days, the tadpole's body is completely transformed. In less than a month from being laid, froglets take to the land. For the lucky few that get this far, competition still doesn't let up. Food is in short supply. They'll even eat one another. Only a fraction of the original hordes will survive to breed themselves. As the brief African dusk fades into darkness, the night chorus of other frogs takes over. From inflated sacks of skin, strange incantations chirp and trill across the swamp. The rain triggers a symphony of breeding calls. All these frogs must reproduce before the pools evaporate. But the water is a dangerous place and very crowded. Gray tree frogs have the answer to that. They lay their eggs above water. But how do they prevent them from drying up? Again, the skin plays a vital role. The female bloats herself with water, absorbed directly through the skin. Then she mates, and along with her eggs, she secretes a kind of jelly, adds water, and whips it into foam. One or more males add their sperm to this watery meringue. Like a trio of egg whisks, they flail and stir all through the tropical night. The bigger the nest of foam, the greater the chances of the egg staying moist. During the day, the outer layers of this frothy confection bake hard in the heat of the sun. But inside, the eggs stay cool and damp in their own private pool. Each developing tadpole is nourished by a small sac of yolk. After 6 days, the tadpoles are ready to leave the nest. The hardened outer layers of their foamy world break down, and they drop into the water below. Building a foamy nest may be safer than letting your eggs take their chances in the water. But the marsupial frog of South America goes a step further. She carries her brood in a pouch of skin on her back. During incubation, it's tightly closed. But when the tadpoles are ready to emerge, she pulls the pouch open with her toes to release them. This use of skin may seem remarkable, but there's another amphibian in the forests of South America that's even more extraordinary. The Suriname toad. In what is surely the weirdest toad skin spell of all, this bizarre creature takes parental care to the ultimate extreme. This is the skin on her back. The Suriname toad carries her eggs in a spongy pad of skin. In this womb-like protection, her young develop in safety, each in its own tiny capsule. After several weeks, they emerge, not as tadpoles, but as fully formed froglets. Frogs seem to work all kinds of magic, but can they survive this? Every year, fires scorch the parched bushlands of Australia. Everything above ground tries to flee. Those that do escape the flames fall prey to birds drawn to the fire by easy pickings. We probably think nothing could survive the raging fire, yet incredibly, frogs have survived the inferno. Entombed beneath the hard-baked earth, the frog waits years for the rains to come. Over the long wait, its skin has developed a thick, airtight cocoon, allowing its swollen body to retain massive amounts of water, as the native peoples of this arid land well know. Around the scattered coolabah trees, puddles from the last rains might have lingered longest. It's here that the Aborigines dig for these living water bottles. This creature is actually called the water-holding frog. Half its body weight can be water, stored in its bladder and protected by that waterproof cocoon. And like a camel, it can also produce water from special reserves of fat. In Aboriginal folklore, frogs and toads are intimately linked with the coming of the rains. It takes more than just a shower to waken the frog from its long sleep. Only a deluge will give enough water for it to breed. For a rain like this, it may have to wait as long as 7 years. As the first moisture penetrates its earthen grave, the frog comes alive. The water softens its life-saving cocoon. It sheds the thickened layers of skin built up over the years and eats them. In this harsh environment, nothing goes to waste. As soon as it emerges, the frog goes straight to water to breed and replenish its supplies for the next long entombment. But frogs can survive even harsher places. The Atlantic coast of southern Africa. Here, almost no rain falls, yet even in this thirsty desert, there are frogs. This odd, marshmallow-sized creature is called breviceps. It goes through life without ever seeing a pool of water. It's not really at home on the surface. During the day, it burrows beneath the sand to shelter from the drying winds and burning sun. For that, its rounded body and short, stubby legs are ideal. It goes only a few inches below the surface, but that's enough to protect it from the elements. Like many desert creatures, Breviceps is active mainly in the cool of the night. There's little to eat beneath the sand, so it comes to the surface to hunt. Its tracks suggest it may cover great distances, but few people ever see it. Its telltale footprints and unearthly calls are the only evidence of its passing. For a little frog like this, a termite is a satisfying meal. The frog gets a little moisture from its food, but not enough to sustain it. So how does it survive? Cold ocean currents cool the air along the coast to form dense banks of fog. Sea breezes roll the fog inland, and moisture condenses on the leaves of the scattered desert plants. Droplets dampen the sand below, and Breviceps' skin is so permeable that it soaks up even this tiny trace of water like blotting paper. Incredibly, this female frog even lays her eggs in the desert sand. She keeps them moist with a special jelly-like layer of infertile eggs laid on top. Like Breviceps, most frogs take pains to avoid the desiccating rays of the sun. But here in the African savanna, there's one exception. This frog is a sun worshiper. It soaks up the sun without drying out. Unlike most frogs, its skin is almost impermeable, which minimizes water loss. But that's not all. As the day shimmers on, the temperature climbs relentlessly. Then, at around 97 degrees Fahrenheit, something magical happens. Its skin turns blinding white. The light-colored skin reflects the sun's rays, and at even higher temperatures, it sweats, just like a mammal. It even attracts sweat bees. The combination of sweating and color change is enough to keep the frog cool. From the heat of the African savanna to the bitter chill of Arctic winter. For months on end, temperatures plunge far below zero. The few creatures that brave these freezing temperatures have thick fur or feather, plus they're warm-blooded. By what strange alchemy can frogs survive here? The Canadian gray tree frog has found an answer. It freezes solid. For most frogs, freezing would be lethal, but not for this one. The first ice crystals to form on its skin trigger a series of life-saving changes. Almost 2/3 of the water in its body turns to ice, but without damaging its tissues. Its blood no longer flows. That's why it looks blue, and breathing stops. It will remain in suspended animation until the first thaw. As the warmth of spring reaches down into the soil, we witness its incredible resurrection. As if by magic, the frog comes alive. This revival of a frozen corpse is something from the realms of science fiction. The hope in medical research is to understand and master this freezing and thawing of living tissue. The benefits for organ transplant surgery would be immeasurable. There seems no limit to the miraculous adaptability of frogs and toads. But today, they're in trouble. Within the last few years, they've suddenly started to die. Why is this happening? All over the world, from the garden ponds of England to the cloud forests of Costa Rica, frogs and toads are disappearing. Has their skin, the secret of their success, finally failed them? From Australia to Europe and the Americas, scientists are searching for answers. Because their skin is moist and permeable, frogs are very vulnerable to changes in their surroundings, such as pollution, disease, or an altered climate. But many are vanishing from apparently pristine places. There is no easy answer to the puzzle, no single solution that can explain the death of frogs in widely scattered parts of the world. Whatever the reasons, frogs are almost certainly being affected through their skins. And it's not just adults that are dying. Eggs and tadpoles are suffering as well. In parts of Oregon, 95% of eggs are suddenly failing to hatch. It has just been discovered that eggs can be killed by ultraviolet light. Tadpoles may fail to grow and develop normally. Some researchers think it's the thinning of the ozone layer that's killing off frogs and toads. Their sensitive skins are vulnerable to the increasing intensity of ultraviolet rays now getting through the atmosphere. Perhaps the most dramatic decline of all has been here in the elfin cloud forest that cloaks the high mountains of Costa Rica. These mist-drenched trees were once home to one of the most beautiful of all amphibians, the golden toads of Monteverde. A few years ago, there were thousands, but now they are all gone. They were last seen alive in 1989. Scientists still search for them, but don't know if they'll ever be seen again. They live on only in memories. To add to the mystery, some frogs are still doing very well. These are red-eyed tree frogs, and they live in the lowland swamp forests not far from the home of the vanished golden toad. There are still plenty of them, though populations fluctuate from year to year, and you do have to know where to look at the right time. For most of the year they go unnoticed, but for a few nights at the start of the rains, they congregate for a conspicuous orgy. It seems incredible that while so many frogs are disappearing, these are flourishing. What makes them survivors? What is different about their skin? For all our research, we simply don't know. Amphibians were here even before the dinosaurs and have been far more successful. Thanks to their amazing skin, they can be found in almost every corner of the globe. But ironically, it's their skin that may be their undoing. Its very design makes them susceptible to the poisons of the modern world. To survive in this age, their powers of adaptation will need to keep pace with the rapidly changing environment. We too rely on their skin's miraculous properties. Modern medical research is unleashing powers undreamed of by those medieval witches. We have sought these creatures to give our lives a bit of magic. But through some black magic of our own making, we may have cast a fatal spell over a creature we've long taken for granted. Perhaps the frogs and toads can help us once more. Through their increasing silence, they may be giving us the most important sign of all.